If you're talking about it, we're talking about it.
The traffic news is invaluable.
BBC Tees.
All right, BBC News summary on the way and all the sport with Rob Law for your Tues tonight. First, the RNLI were called out over the weekend after a man jumped from the pier at Saltburn yesterday. The man was rescued, thankfully, by police after getting into difficulties. The RNLI say they've got, of course, the full summer season in full flow now, and people should continue to take beach safety seriously. We can talk to the man from the RNLI who brings us up to date with all these events. Dave Cox is with us. Hiya, Dave.
Hello, Neil.
Hi, good to speak to you. Talk us through the events of the weekend. What happened? What do you know?
Well, this happened yesterday evening about 6:45. A young man in his mid-20s, for best reasons known to himself, decided to take all his clothes off and jump off the end of the pier into the sea. As soon as he hit the water, he realised he couldn't actually get himself back out and was getting into difficulties, so somebody dialed 999 and raised the alarm.
And that's a reality, isn't it? I mean, all this good weather, people are sometimes misled to think that the North Sea is pretty warm. You couldn't be further from the truth, could you?
Well, that's right. It doesn't matter how warm the air temperature is. At this time of year, the North Sea is about 8 degrees, and that's cold enough to trigger what we call a cold water shock, which can be a fatal condition if you plunge very quickly into cold water.
And thankfully, the man's all right, is he?
I understand so. The police wanted to have a word with him once they got him out, and as far as I know, there's no injuries and he's okay.
Half term, of course, this week. Plenty of young people are going to be going to the beach. What advice have you got for them?
Well, the advice is always the same, Neil. It's always use the lifeguarded areas. There's RNLI lifeguards at the beach at Saltburn and at Redcar. Look for the yellow and red flags and always bathe in between those flags. If you're going to sea in a boat, then make sure it's in good working order and you have proper means of raising the alarm, like a VHF radio and flares, and always carry life jackets and wear them, in fact, because if you're not wearing them when the problems come.
And Dave, for people who don't know, one of the big problems certainly you face as a team is something known as tombstoning. Can you explain what that is?
Well, tombstoning is a national fad where people jump off structures, off piers, off cliffs into the water for the thrill of doing that. And although in itself, the RNLI don't have a problem with that, over the last 10 years there's been something like 100 fatalities, serious injuries, or people becoming paralysed through this activity. And in the last 5 or 6 years, the RNLI have been called out nearly 100 times and rescued 58 people who've got into difficulties while doing it.
In inverted commas, is it popular around our North East and North Yorkshire coast?
Well, we're relatively lucky in that respect because there aren't many structures where you can do it from. The Saltburn pier is the obvious one. It's a far more pronounced problem further on the south coast of England, for example. But just November 2010, there was a young man in his mid-20s did exactly the same thing. And as he hit the water, because of this cold water shock, he suffered cardiac arrest and was critically ill for many, many weeks. So it can be a very dangerous thing to do.
All right, so the advice is just, like you said, it's the usual message, isn't it? Regardless of the time of year, it's just take note of the reality.
Exactly. Take care of yourself, note the tides, and use the lifeguarded areas. Good
to speak to you as always, Dave. Thanks a lot. Dave Cox from the RNLI, live with us from Saltburn. Unfortunately, having one or two problems getting a signal across there tonight.
North Yorkshire, County Durham, Teesside, proud of where we live.
BBC Tees.
Yeah, good evening. 95 FM.